Hey guys, we're going to continue talking about the issue going on with Black criminals being released to wreak havoc among normal people, even though the media doesn't want to talk about it. And then we're going to also discuss the Biden Autopen scandal just not really going away. And now there's even more evidence that the January 6th committee was basically lobbying for these pardons, and I wonder why that could possibly be. And then finally, there's some issues, as we know, with the vaccines. And the big issue that I think is getting ready to come out has to do with autism. I think we all know this. And the bombshell doth cometh. So stick around for all that today on the Angela Bach Show.
Hello, my name is Angela Bach. So you're calling my name.
Okay, St. George, Florida fentanyl. Boy, howdy. Don't y'all remember? Don't y'all remember those dark days in America where every single millennial and Gen Z and corporation on planet Earth put like black scars on their Instagram because a many time convicted felon, drug addicted criminal named George Floyd ate all of his fentanyl and died. And of course, the whole world erupted because of that. And after that happened, Democrats really went into full gear on pushing this idea that the only reason that Black people were in jail, the only reason that 6% of the population is basically responsible for 47% of the violent crime in America is because of whitey. And obviously the best thing to do if we're going to be making that better and have some social justice is to just start releasing Black criminals, just release them all. And of course, George Soros, another George Soros and his little elfin warlock son, Alex Soros, were like, okay, this is the time. You know, obviously BM, aka Black Lives Matter, Antifa, up in full gear, rioting, burning down cities, and every single media outlet on planet Earth was like, well, it's mostly peaceful out here as the whole city burns behind them. They were like, this is the time. And so they ramped up their social justice, shall we say. And they started funding even more in earnest than they were already doing before. They started funding prosecutors and they started funding judges all throughout the country. And you can see on this map, a lot of on the Eastern Seaboard, a lot in California and Washington State and Texas, and places that they thought that they could really affect change. So what happened when they put all these leftist judges in? Well, the leftist judges and the leftist prosecutors and the leftist legislatures around the country that also had been taking money from Soros were like, you know what we need to do? What we really need to do to affect change and to have some justice out here is, again, let's start releasing all the Black people we can possibly find that are in jail. Now, look, I'm not saying that there are some cases where there's been outrageous injustice that have been perpetrated on people. And that is a case-by-case basis. But this is what leftists did, obviously. They've said that no, it's the case where every single Black person has been done poorly and been tread upon, and we need to release them all. And so now we have this outpouring or outcrop of violent crime being done around the country that is direct results of these actions. No cash bail, release people from jail, release people without doing their full sentences. And then the Democrat Party, because they need criminals and they need Black people to be permanently on the Democrat plantation, they have essentially told Black people, listen. I said this on yesterday's show, but I want to continue it because finally the media seems to be pulling their heads up and looking around and realizing that everyone is real pissed off about, say her name, I'm gonna make sure I'm saying her name correctly, Irina Zarutska, but it ain't just Irina. It's Julie Carol Chanel, the one who got hacked to death by a Black criminal, or Eric Tarpinian Jackheim, the Washington, D.C. intern that was murdered by 3 black criminals, or the autistic man, Scott Lindsay, that was jumped and beaten almost to death by a bunch of black criminals. It's not just Arena, but this Arena one's pretty bad, because now there's been more video released that show exactly what this guy was doing, and it was racially motivated. Now, can you imagine? And I'll get back to what the Democrats need black people to keep doing to stay on the Democrat plantation. But can you imagine the absolute shit show it would be if a white man on a bus stabbed to death a black woman for no reason? Can you imagine? And imagine if that white person had said after the stabbing, "I got me a black girl." Can you imagine what would happen, ladies and gentlemen? Well, there's a reason that the dirtbag mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina, and the Democrat governor of North Carolina didn't want that video out. You know why? Because it turns out that DeCarlos DeJuan Brown Jr., after he stabbed this poor woman, Arena, in her neck, and she did not die quickly, she suffered. And as she's bleeding out with no one there to lift a finger, all the other black people on the bus wouldn't lift a finger to help this girl. What? What? Anyway, he said, I got me a white girl. Got me a white girl. Yeah, that's on the video. Do you see white America going and burning down cities and rioting and looting? Of course you don't. Of course you don't. And here's the thing, guys, media, Democrat Party. And here's the thing to black people out there. You better start pulling your heads out of your ass and realize how these people have been using you and how they've been taking you for a ride and how they basically think that you're no better than twerking and baby mamas and violent and wilding out. That's all the Democrat Party thinks of you. Okay. So not only do they need you to stay that way, they need you to be as ghetto as humanly possible. Okay. They need you to not have fathers in homes. They need you to continue to support these ridiculous schools that churn out criminal after criminal after criminal, the playground to prison pipeline that y'all cry about all the time. But yet you don't seem to realize it's the Democrats that put you there. Okay. The Democrats that continue to excuse horrific behavior done by people in the black community because of social justice. Okay. So what was I don't even know where I was going with that, but the point is this: the Democrat Party needs the black people in this country to look the other way, and the media needs to continue to try and pretend that it's Whitey's fault that all this is happening. Well, I would submit to you it's white people in the Democrat Party whose fault this is, because normal people, regardless of skin color, don't want criminals out on the streets. Normal people, regardless of skin color, want functioning homes and functioning schools and functioning societies. And there's one political party that does not, because they need perpetual chaos in order to win, in order to say, don't look what's going on in your communities. Don't look at what's going on with the behavior of our people, meaning black people. Look at Whitey. It's Whitey's fault that's doing this to you. We've got a situation where part of George Floyd's legacy, in addition to Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats throwing kente cloths around their necks and kneeling at the feet of a hardened criminal and putting up bronze statues of this felon that likes to put guns into stomachs and 8-month-old pregnant ladies. Yeah, they're boo, George Floyd. So one of the things that people have to understand is that I'm just going to read this here. This is from Megan Bashem on X. Another factor in the death of Irina Zarutska on Charlotte's light rail. The left-wing MacArthur Foundation. Yeah, these foundations: MacArthur Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, Carnegie Foundation, Open Society, which of course is George Floyd. Take your, throw a dart. Giving Mecklenburg County a $3.3 million grant to reduce the jail population. Specifically, they as part of, quote, racial equity aims. Implicit bias training to reduce the jail population in the name of racial and ethnic disparities. So yeah, this is what happened. This is what happened after George Floyd's death. They went into overdrive with this crap. And that is why things have gotten so much worse. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, that our FBI, the great Kash Patel, has said, yeah, the FBI is already looking into this. This is another linchpin, if you will, a catalyst, if you will, to really look at what these left-wing jurisdictions have done to their populations in the name of racial justice and combating white supremacy. Let's just let all the black criminals out. That is literally their solution to all this crap. And so Patel and FBI is like, no, we're going to look into this. And we're going to look into the judges that have released these criminals. This guy that was released 14 different times, whose brother and mother have come out and said, we warned you about this guy. He was schizophrenic. He was promising violence. Like, this is the fact that this guy was let out 14 different times because he was black is outrageous. Like, does anyone think that if this, again, flip it. If it was some white criminal that had been released 14 different times and whose parents and siblings were warning about this guy, and we come to find out that some, white judge is out there releasing him 14 different times, or some conservative judge was out there releasing this guy 14 different times, and then he goes and he stabs a black woman on a bus and he yells, "I got that black girl." What do you think would be happening right now? That judge would be hung up on a rail. All right. This judge would be, everyone would be shouting from the rooftops that this person needs to be held accountable. And that's what's going to start to be happening. These judges are going to be held accountable for releasing these violent criminals, because even though this is certainly a rallying cry for normal America, the death of this girl. And it's funny, isn't it funny how you see, zero coverage, and finally CNN's talking about it. Finally, the media started to pick up on it, because according to CNN, it's just because MAGA's angry about it. And they're making it a racial issue. It's like, you guys, he made it a racial issue. He's the one who said, "I got me a white girl." And then all these other black criminals are going out and wilding out on all these white people, and no one wants to talk about that. And when you start looking into their motivations, does anyone honestly think that race is not a factor here? Of course, y'all, of course it is. Of course it is. Because of the environment that the left has created, where these black criminals feel empowered to do these things because they've been told, you just can't help yourselves. And that is the insidious nature. That is the insidious nature of all of this, is that black people have been sold a bill of goods by the media, by the Democrat Party, that ridiculous behavior, that antisocial behavior, whether it's mothers freaking out in Walmart, or moms, as I can attest to, dropping their kid off at school half an hour late every day with bonnets in their heads and slippers on their feet and an attitude and a chip on their shoulder. Whether it's those little things, or violent criminals wreaking havoc in our cities, whether it's shoplifters going insane, where deodorant has to be locked up at Walmart now because of these people. Like, can we be honest? Can we be honest about what the Democrat Party has purposefully done to black people? I don't know if black people are going to get the memo and realize that what's been done to them, but I'm here to sound the alarm. Okay. And people who are not afraid to tell the truth need to not be afraid to tell the truth. And so FBI looking into this, I think, is a very good thing. I think that dirtbags like CNN and Axios saying it's just because of MAGA that anyone's talking about this, and they're just racist. They're just talking about how it's black crime. It's like, y'all, is this thing on? 7% of the population is responsible for about 47% of the violent crime in this country. Okay, this is a problem. This has nothing to do with white supremacy. Stop it. Lock these people up, throw away the key, and let's make America safe again. And listen, this is another thing the Democrats are desperately afraid of. Desperately afraid of. That when Trump starts going around all these cities, and I talked about this, Trump starts going around all these cities, cleaning them up, making them safe. And people are going to be like, you mean that's all it took? That's it? That's it? You know, clearing out the homeless camps and rounding up criminals and throwing them in jail? Like, what? That's all it took? Yeah, that's all it took. And maybe make jail an unpleasant place. Maybe make jail a place you don't want to go. Okay, stop with the, the high-speed internet and the pen pals and the workout facilities and the TVs in the jail cells. Stop with all that crap. Make it a very unpleasant place to be. Make it a place you don't want to go. And then people, when they get out, will tell their homeboys, y'all better get it together because this is not somewhere you want to be. Anyway, this is we've reached a boiling point in normal America that encompasses all races and all ethnicities and all backgrounds. Normal America is sick of this behavior. And so the concept of Black fatigue, that is what we're talking about, man. We're tired. We are all so tired of this. And we are all so tired of the media lying to our faces about what's actually going on in this country. So let the hell rain down on all of the people who have done this to us on purpose, and that is the Democrat Party. Period. The end. All right, guys. We will be right back with we're going to talk about the Autopen stuff because that's getting interesting. Stick around. So, okay, you guys, I'm showing this to you. Froya Organics. Okay, about 3 months ago, no, like 6 months ago, I started using this stuff. My husband, after about 2 or 3 weeks of it, he goes, your face has a glow. It has a glow to it. I go, really? He was like, yeah, it does. And like I said, I'm little years old and I've chosen not to age. It's a personal choice. So you've got to, fight it every way you can. So anyway, I started using these Froya Organics, these balms, these little magic balms, and they're little, but you don't need much. And when I tell you, they have a 60-day money-back guarantee, but it's like they make you jump through a lot of hoops. Don't even worry about the hoops. You're not going to return this stuff. Froya Organics, Froya Organics.com/Angela Bach Show. You get $15 off your first order. Okay, guys, very quickly. There is some new information coming out about Joe Biden's Autopen scandal. And, if you don't go on Truth Social to look at Donald Trump's account, you should. Because Donald Trump is dropping some truth bombs all over the place. And one of the truth bombs is basically that the Democrat Party did not just a coup on Trump in 2020, which we're all going to come to find out. We're all going to come to find out that basically Trump is in his third term right now. Okay. That's what we're going to discover. And the normies who have been lulled to sleep by the media and by the Democrat Party and by people saying, you're crazy and you're conspiracy theorists and whatever, they're going to start to wake up. And with the Autopen stuff, we've now come to find out that Biden, and this goes back to the segment about how the Democrat Party is just releasing criminals like carte blanche just because they're Black. Okay. A lot of the pardons that the Autopen was doing, I mean, obviously Joe Biden didn't know shit about what's going on. And they did a coup. They did a coup on Joe Biden. The party of democracy out there, the party of democracy, when the whole world realized this guy can't even count to 10 or tie his shoes at this point. He is tapioca brain. Okay. After that first debate, when they brought out the big hook and they pulled him off the stage and they put in Senator knee pads without any elections, without any primary, they just shoved her in there. Okay. So yeah, party of democracy and saving democracy and all that. They realized, Rutrow, our plan, the jig is truly up here. So at the end of his term, with all of these pardons that were coming out, 2,500 of commutations for violent criminals, some of them on death row. Now I don't know if these people were I think they were commuted to not have death sentences, but there were a lot of criminals that were pardoned and released. Murderers, rapists, assaulters, released because of the Autopen, because of social justice. And now we're coming to find out that a lot of those pardons, were hastily looked up by Joe Biden's radical left staff that had been ensconced in there. And they were like, get a pardon for this guy, get a pardon for that guy. Y'all, it's not going to end well for them.
Real quick, what about the January 6th committee? Did they destroy evidence? Is there criminality there?
Of course, we're all in that too. And trust me, a lot of people did not get a pardon that were involved in the select committee, and they ought to be keeping an eye on their mailbox, because there's a lot to be asked about.
And the pardons that were given out were done by an Autopen. Are they legitimate?
Well, I'm the pardon attorney, so I'm in that too. I can tell you we're investigating how the pardons were granted. It was not like anything in the history of America what not Joe Biden, his staffers did, not just with the Autopen, but with faking him out on the memos. More to come, Maria. I'm telling you, Pam Bondi has let us loose, and when this comes out, it'll take the whole of these people's hoaxes down, and we're doing it bit by bit, and it's fantastic. It's a great privilege.
Unbelievable.
And the January 6th stuff, too. The January 6th committee, a lot of them got pardons too. Liz Cheney got a pardon, Adam Schiff got a pardon, and I think a few others did too. And when people start to realize, wait a minute, you're telling me that the January 6th committee deleted a bunch of records? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Oh, because I think we're going to come to find out that they were doing illegal things in order to identify people. And John Solomon, I think he was on Maria Bartiromo's show. I'm gonna show this clip real quick of him basically saying, the January 6th committee was deleting a bunch of files because they were working illegally with different corporations and the FISA court in order to get this information about Americans. So roll that clip.
We have some more huge news to get in front of you from inside the FBI. Just the News has learned that the Bureau has opened an investigation under Director Kash Patel into whether its own agents obstructed or interfered with politically sensitive cases such as those involving Hillary Clinton, Hunter Biden, and President Trump. Now, think about this. Normally, the FBI is investigating other people, like witnesses who obstructed justice, but in this case, it's looking at their own people. Now, this follows all of the reporting we have done exposing the alleged improper behavior and actions from key officials around the Russiagate scandal, such as former FBI Director James Comer, former CIA Director John Brennan, as well as reporting we brought to you involving investigations to Hillary Clinton being stopped by both the FBI and the IRS. Remember that line? Shut it down? Sounds a lot like obstruction, doesn't it? Now the FBI is internally investigating. It all stems from material uncovered in prohibited access case files. So that's a wordful, but it's an FBI term for politically sensitive investigations that most agents aren't allowed to access, even when they're working on the case. They basically keep the materials off the books, which makes it hard for Congress to do its oversight authority. Now, we know all of this because officials familiar with the matter told Just the News that some FBI employees memorialized concerns they had about conduct from FBI supervisors or case agents. In fact, we got some of these memos. One of these memos involves the discovery of Anthony Weiner's laptop. And in that case, we now know that the Deputy Director, Andrew McCabe, in the fall of 16, knew about it in September, but slow-walked it for a month alongside of other agents. Sources are telling us now that a grand jury has been impaneled to look at this, and that some of the evidence is going to be turned over in a bombshell notification to Congress later this month.
Y'all, this is getting very interesting. John Solomon also said that the Anthony Weiner laptop is coming back into focus, and he has it on good authority that there might just be a grand jury going on with that. Y'all, when it comes to the Epstein stuff, or why hasn't anyone been arrested or whatever, y'all, what if the reason the stuff has not been released is because it's being used as evidence? And we can't release evidence until people are indicted, until things are unsealed, until cases have been made, following the rule of law, airtight against these evil people. What if that is what we are all waiting on? And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we're waiting on. So stay tuned. And on that note, we will be right back. I have like, okay, let me show these things to you. Okay, there's these little things. They're called Angel Lift. These were on Shark Tank, you guys. They were on Shark Tank many's a year ago. I did not see them on Shark Tank, but evidently they were on Shark Tank. There's these little plastic silicone things that you put them in your mouth, and they say to only do it at 15 minutes at a time. Do you think I follow those directions?
Absolutely not.
No, I do not. I do it overnight. Okay, now they're like, please don't do that. It plumps your lips. It plumps out lines. It totally works. I'm going to insert a screenshot of a before and after that. I was literally shocked. I reached out to the company. I was like, you guys, look at this. And I was like blown away. So I got an affiliate code for you on this too. You're going to get 10% off. It is Angel Lift, ANGELLIFT.com/Angela Box Show. So you can go in, you can put in the code, or you can do that affiliate link, and you can do all the things. All right. So speaking of something that was on Trump's True Social the other day, he posted about a 2-minute long video, and I'm gonna clip it here in just a second. That was very, very interesting, and he brought up something that is in these vaccines that people aren't aware of or weren't aware of that are causing quite a few problems. So let's roll that clip.
Show them the thimerosal bomb, which we keep in a metal container because we're a little afraid of it, and it's a very fine powder.
This is thimerosal, which is labeled very toxic, has cumulative effects, can cause damage to the kidneys, to the respiratory system, skin, to the nervous system. Specifically warns on here that it can cause reproductive and developmental toxicity, meaning that it can cause things like autism and other neurodevelopmental disorders. This is immensely toxic stuff.
And it's in vaccine.
And this is what's in the vaccine. It's important to realize we're talking about a whole range of products. Vaccines are a big one because, of course, you're directly injecting it. For example, this is tetanus vaccine. This one expires, it's a little outdated now, in 2007. Here's the thimerosal. 1 to 10,000 is a preservative. Perhaps the biggest one in the U.S., at least, that's for exposure to mercury is the influenza vaccine. Influenza vaccine is now recommended for all pregnant women, all infants, all children on a yearly basis. You're supposed
You
to
have last year's influenza one? Understand that thimerosal is not added at the end. It's not like, well, that factory next year can make thimerosal free. Thimerosal, you either have to have a thimerosal free factory or you have to not have one. They add thimerosal at each step because the factory is not clean and not sterile. So you either have to have an expensive sterile factory where you don't need thimerosal, or you have to have one that produces thimerosal. It's going to need thimerosal or something the whole time. It needs to be stopped.
This is the influenza vaccine from Adventist Pasteur, their flu zone. Thimerosal, 25 micrograms of mercury per dose.
But I'd like to point out that a lot of people didn't know, and I'm one of them. I've given 2,000 Rogam shots. I've been in vaccines for 35 years. I didn't know that Rogam had thimerosal in it. So I think a lot of the doctors were unaware. They were unaware that even the word thimerosal meant mercury.
Okay, this thing called, what's it called here? I'm making sure. Thimerosal. Thimerosal. Probably going to become a household word soon. Thimerosal, thimerosal, thimerosal. And this little poison that's been in all of our vaccines for these many decades is a mercury derivative, I think it was saying. And there is a causal link to lots of issues, including autism. So all of the media, all the Democrats, all the pharma bros who are running around saying that RFK Jr. is nothing but a quack, and all these people surrounding him are nothing but quacks and conspiracy theorists. And there's some, I mean, I know autism has just shot through the roof in the last few decades, but I'm sure it has nothing to do with all the vaccines we're forcing children to get in order to go to school. No, that's just crazy talk. Like, you know what's crazy talk is not seeing a causal link, okay? Not seeing, okay, what could possibly be causing the spike of autism in kids, especially young boys? What could possibly be causing this? Could it be the medications or the vaccines we're forcing parents to inject their children with in order to function in society, in order to go to public school? Could we maybe look at that? And of course, because the vaccine manufacturers have been covered and have had immunity for these many years, yeah, they're not worried about it. They're not worried about it at all. They're like, do your worst because we have immunity. No other company would have this kind of immunity, has ever had this kind of immunity. And what we're going to learn is that Trump has come out and said that these vaccine companies showed me the data. This was what was the data of the vaccines they created for COVID. And they said, these things are safe. Here's our data. Here's our data sets. Everything is kosher. And now Kennedy is like, well, we need to see that data set. And what have the vaccine manufacturers said? They're like, okay, we can get it to you in a month. Why? Because they're going to go doctor it. That's why. But Trump is going to basically show the data that he was shown and be like, all right, guys, I mean, look, this is what they showed me. And now it turns out that it's not the same as what they're now showing us now. What they're showing us now is very different. So they're messing with something is my contention. And Kennedy and Trump are basically laying the groundwork for these people are getting ready to be able, excuse me, stop burping. And I think what is getting ready to happen is that Trump and Kennedy are just laying the groundwork to show that these vaccine companies are getting ready to be sued into oblivion, ladies and gentlemen, into oblivion. But don't let that stop you, California and a bunch of left-wing states that are claiming that COVID is surging in California and they want to remask people. Y'all, this is so obvious what they're doing. And I feel, I honestly feel bad for people who just listen to this crap and ingest it and being like, yeah, COVID's back up. We got to mask up again, you guys, because there's been surges of COVID. It's like, really? No, here's what they're doing. They are laying the groundwork for getting the mail-in ballots back for the midterm elections. This is all laying the groundwork for the work they're going to have to do in order to cheat in the midterms in 2026. But I don't think that's going to work out so well for them because Trump has basically come out and said, we're not doing that anymore. We're not having the mail-in ballots. We're not having a no photo ID. We're not having no signature verification on absentee ballots. Like that stuff's going to be over. And he also wants the elimination of the Voldemort machines too. And get back to, one-day voting or at the very least just a couple of days of early voting. Okay. So all the things the Democrats have depended on and counted on, their dysfunctional cities, their crime rates that keep the rest of us scared to talk about what's really going on. They're using a fake pandemic in order to lull the population into wearing masks and getting vaccinated. Those things are all going bye-bye. And I think Trump, Kennedy, all these MAGA people are laying the groundwork, setting the stage, if you will, for a massive, massive awakening. Now, a bunch of us are already awake to all this stuff. A bunch of us are like, yeah, I already know this stuff. Like, what are you saying? Hey, guys, there's a whole lot of people who are still completely clueless as to what is going on around here. Like, what is really going on around here? It is so multi-layered what the deep state has done. It is so evil what the Democrat Party has become. And it's going to take a lot of re-education. And I don't mean re-education in the sense of what they wanted to do to us, putting us all in concentration camps, those of us who didn't get a vaccine. I'm talking about not maybe re-education isn't the right word, just education on the lies that we've all lived through for a very long time. Whether it's health lies, whether it's racial lies, whether it's party lies, whether it's political lies and who's actually aligned together. We are in a big time awakening and it's very exciting. It's very exciting. And just remember, God wins. God always wins. So when in doubt, pray. When in doubt, as I say at the end of my videos every time, thy will be done, because God has a way of working things out. And God, he's got a sense of humor, because there's some really funny things going on to the evil people who have tried to enslave us for so long. It's just going to get worse for them. It's just going to get worse. All right, that's where I'm going to leave today's video. Please let me know what you think down below. Like, subscribe, do all the things. I'll see you in the next video. Thy will be done. Bye.